Almost 20 years ago, the world of DreamWorks Madagascar introduced us to 4 penguins that eventually became part of our modern culture. Skipper, Kowalski, Rico, and Private outlived the franchise, even if by a couple more years with their origin story. But prior to their debut in theaters, there were another group of penguins not looking for adventure here on Earth, but on the many planets in outer space. And what if I were to tell you that your favorite tomato and cucumber characters produced the very show that I'm talking about? And all of this was done during the production of their first film. My friends, this is the world of 321 Penguins.
Kevin.
It's the early 90s, and direct-to-video was a relatively new development for entertainment. Audiences had become used to watching their media in theaters or through television. CG effects and animation were starting to crawl their way into entertainment. Dire Straits' Money for Nothing music video, The Great Mouse Detective, even Terminator 2 Judgment Day used it. But the technology has never been used to make movies or series that came straight to video before. This is where Phil Vischer and Mike Narwaki were able to succeed through the creation of veggietales. Released the same year as Jurassic Park and during the production of Toy Story, the first entry made its splash onto home video, with a franchise in the making. This includes 50 episodes of the original series, 2 theatrical releases, and a short-lived revival series. During the making of its first film, Jonah, Big Idea's first series with Posable Limbs was in development. It started off as many of their productions did, with brainstorming ideas and thoughtful collaborations with the staff. Among the team were 3 writers, who had previous experience working in children's media, but had never worked for Big Idea before. But they had an interest in making the company's next big hit. After its initial concept was conceived, Mike and Phil, alongside some creators from Disney Animation, focused on the series while the trio worked on different projects.
When we first started, it was during the winter, and we had a large conference table upstairs near the front of the building. We began to create what the whole thing began to look like and gave structure to the whole story. And suddenly, within 2 weeks, we had this entire room filled with sketches.
Through the official site, some concept art was posted in 2000 to its behind-the-scenes page, alongside a Q&A with Phil Vischer. Unfortunately, at this time, I can't find any more information on the series production.
Hello, it's Swag here in the future. I actually found some more media that has been found as of 2018. As in October of 2018, user Innovator Studios of the Lost Media Wiki found a video from animator Tom Dannon's blog, which contains animation tests for the penguins. Apparently they were supposed to be blue, but I guess orange fit better with test audiences, maybe. That same month, another user of the wiki, Veggie Finder, found more still images of the series, with YouTuber JK Doodles covering even more. Alright, I guess it's time I leave, so Passwag, take it away.
Thank you, future me. I guess it's time we move on to the show itself. 321 Penguins made its debut for home video on November 14th, 2000. Much like with the studio's first project, Big Idea also planted Christian messages into each episode, but it's more so general themes than fulfilling lessons. The humans of the show include Jason Conrad, the fraternal space-loving twin brother, his sister Michelle Conrad, and their unnamed loving grandmom living in a rather nice cottage. The first episode starts with the twin children getting dropped off at their grandmom's house for as much time as their parents will let them.
Just remember, I'm the cute one.
Yeah, hold up a second, son, because I've got a going away gift for you. Jason receives his knockoff N64 and tries to hook it up to no avail. Supper time draws, and both try an odd savory pie. I'm sorry, Jason actually tries the pie and Michelle pokes at it like it's some ectoplasmic goo. The two go upstairs and he decides to see what is up in the attic. At least ask your sister to get out of the way. Sheesh. After digging through his grandfather's space collection, Jason stumbles across a spaceship figurine and the porcelain penguins Michelle was playing with. By complete accident, he drops the ship and it wakes up to his attention. Feels weird and poltergeist-like, but this works for the story, so I have nothing to complain about.
Jason T. Conrad, we need your help.
He's then transported into the very ship where we meet our penguin crew. In there, we meet Zigil, the embodiment of Star Trek's Captain Kirk, Midgel, the down-to-earth pilot and engineer, Fidgel, the nerdy scientist of the group, and Kevin, the lovable goofball / best penguin. I will not take any slander on this gentle giant, considering I may as well be the same height as him.
Hello.
Hi, do you know where we're going?
Their first distress signal comes from Planet Wait Your Turn, a Pluto-like society full of vacuums. A line had been formed all across the planet up to where the gang parked their ship. Something mysterious caught the attention of these vacuums. As you can imagine, some of those in line were cutting head, which, of course, eventually affected our penguin acquaintances.
They're barbarians. Back to the ship.
Apparently, all the vacuums were very upset about not getting to this mysterious thing that they cut in line so bad. Not only that, but their constant back and forth bickering led the planet to speed up toward the sun.
Back to the ship.
The message that Jason was told comes back to him in this dire time as the planet was speeding toward the sun. Everyone on the planet was saved due to the words and actions, and they all went home. Going forward in the series, we see our group of intergalactic penguins solving similar and different issues in the galaxies. Episode 2 begins with a fever dream chess game, with the main lesson focused on cheating. Michelle wins this game against her brother, but after a talk with her grandmom, she isn't too pleased with the outcome. The penguins call her in and head off for planet Bulamanka, where we see an Aussie opponent beat the king at the same game she played down on Earth. Except it's now life-sized. Much like how she felt cheating against her brother, she tries her best to focus and is cheated out by the Aussie. Once again, the lesson is brought up in Michelle's brain to teach him to play fair.
Reset the playing field.
All's well on Bulamanka, and the penguins head back for home once again. This sure won't get repetitive, right? Right? The end of the episode takes place in a comedy club, with the penguins performing as the next act. A robot is giving a middling performance, and then heads off to let him on. The penguins took what they learned from Michelle and spruced it into a cheesy country piece. The amazing carnival of complaining is their next destination, and Jason is in an awfully bad mood. He misses flying around the skies and planets with the penguins. It seems like he's in a pinch to complain.
Boo! You stink!
The penguins, too, are having trouble trying to figure out what they want to do for the day.
They got that ride that goes woo-hoo! And look, everybody, no hand.
The symphony. Comic-Con.
I can't believe it. He just said Comic-Con. He might be a true friend, but Mitchell's still second to my boy Kevin. Ooh. Okay, that was my favorite clip of the series so far.
Oh, for the love of Pete!
The fun day officially begins at Uncle Blob's Carnival Moon. It's full of pumpkin children and a froggy headmaster. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There were only 2 hats left on the train, so Fidgel, Kevin, and Jason had to sit in the back. As is the name of the episode, it's all about complaining. Especially on the carnival attractions. First one puts you to sleep. Second one, too big for adults. The Ferris wheel, slow as a crock of shit. Oh, what? This is a Christian Minecraft server? Oh, sorry, I'll be on my way then. Spinning teacups? Oh, it's too dizzy, mate. With the exception of Zigil and Midgel, the gang's having fun, and everyone else were bored out of their minds. By the time the funhouse was the final stop, doubts of ever coming here already filled their brains. But behind this carnival, like in mythology, had a dark secret behind it, turning their biggest critics into rockets to be shipped into space, effectively depopulating everyone on the planet. Jason brings a speech about being thankful for the life and memories that everyone has. They're freed, Blob flees the planet, and another mission log is added for complaining. Jeez Louise. He's back home, eats a grape with seeds proudly, and goes to help Michelle and Grandmom with gardening. Back at the Comet Lounge, we got our fun-filled recap song for the episode. Runaway Pride opens with Jason and Michelle's grandmom making jelly-filled pastry. Kinda looks like donuts, if you ask me. Don't be puffed up with pride is the lesson here. The two of them go through their granddad's collection again and find a painting kit. Although Michelle doesn't have her glasses. Jason warns her not to be filled too much with pride, especially without her glasses. She soon gets so cocky that he eventually leaves the attic to try and focus. The penguins arrive, bring him to the ship, and go off on their mission. Also, she left her glasses at home, so Kevin grabbed the emergency glasses.
This is on me. My bad.
Thanks.
Hey, Zigil, you shouldn't be messing with the very pointer you're using to demonstrate the issue at hand. Oh boy, someone get him a water bucket.
Thanks, I needed that.
Their next mission is to repair the lighthouse station at Station Kilowatt, provided it's a temporary fix. Michelle will be the eye seeing the right color, considering Vigil is unfortunately colorblind. He's set to be monitoring the charts, while Vigil is staying on the ship to see progress through all the asteroids. Zigil will be manning the machine, and Kevin is his trusty assistant.
Trusty assistant bee-bonnet trench grunt.
The gang makes it over to the station. Zigil is fashionably late per usual, and now a cargo liner is headed in the path of the asteroid reef. Now he really needs to get this thing to work. But with so little time, how should they... Oh, corn nuts. Zigil's pride really gained the best of him. He's making one too many jokes for this serious of a situation. Of course, in dire need, the message from Michelle is given out. Kevin comes up with a sick idea of making all the station bulbs flash red. This barely works as planned, with the liner hitting the rim of the lighthouse.
Good call, everyone.
Once again, we're back in the lounge. We see the robot is back for round 2, and so are the penguins. It's a very Beach Boys piece and tone for this recap.
Is it the president? Buzz Aldrin? Robert Goulet? Larry the Cucumber?
Nothing like the old fourth wall breaks. Everybody's gone surfing. Surfing on the reef. We begin the next episode where Jason wants a turn at looking through the mail. Eventually, he gets a letter from a friend of his at space camp. Turns out they love the experience so much, especially with the anti-gravity simulator. Back in the attic, he notices trails from his tray of cookies. I mean, technically it's supposed to be everybody's tray of cookies, well, I don't know why he's hoarding them. It turns out that a mouse had been nabbing away at them. Now named Preston, Jason puts the rodent through an adventure in the ship after Michelle leaves the room. The ship awakes during the countdown, and he's needed once again by the penguins. Zigil opens up a top-secret presentation, which starts with baby pictures of young Ziggy. How was he not embarrassed? The big goal is to bring some emergency duct tape to some planet out there. I don't know the name. I feel like I'm losing track with the series bit by bit. Of course, Zigil is still prideful since the last episode. It's in his character. Well, the tank is running low on gas and they really need to fuel up.
What about gas? You said you got gas.
And I did. But I'm feeling much better now, thank you.
Not that gas. Vigil looks at the binoculars and realizes that the gas station they're landing on has a large propane tank. Naturally, this sends the gang in a frenzy, but at least they made it.
Down to the last drop.
Now remember, one chewy chunky glob of fudge bar, sugarless, some barbecued lard chips, and a slimy slurp.
Those are some interesting names for candy bars.
They were out of a chewy, chunky glob of fudge, so I got you an icky, gooey slab of slop.
It's not the same.
After all that, it's time for the damn mission to begin.
What's that?
Not sure, really. I got it free with my prune trifle burrito. Bing!
What, the shitty rival to Google? That looks a lot like a camera. And the robot is sentient! I knew that already. Turns out the whole gang loves this robot. Thanks for that pit stop, Kevin.
Hey, don't touch that.
They're now headed for the space colony Double Wide.
Wow.
But it looks like they hit the doom funnel early. Most of everyone left their homes except for one scientist studying in the signs of doom. In the signs of death came Bing, who saved everyone with a giant ball of duct tape. I'm sorry if I'm being dramatic, he literally does. A reverse you stay, I go from Iron Giant is pulled off with the scientist. We repeat the going home captain's log again, and JC manages to successfully write a letter to his friend. The penguins return to the lounge as Rip Roarin' and the Tailgaters. This time it's about the race between Big Fidge and that Aussie from episode 2. Or maybe it's his cousin? I don't know. The race goes as smoothly as humanly as possible, provided he picked up his comrades first, then all the others in peril. He loses the race, points out the cheating bastard, and wins everyone over with his snow cones. Moon Menace begins with a scene straight out of Toy Story, but Jason is a Godzilla mimic. I mean, Lilo and Stitch did this later too. The ship passes by in action with him, and a civilian is saved from disaster. Grandmom pulls up to the attic and notices the dartboard that fell down. She speaks of it with him and Michelle, and how their granddad was a dart champion, complete with audience cheering and falling dartboards. But just as they return the board and photo book, Jason goes for one shot. But unfortunately, the board broke in half.
Oh no.
He lies about it to his grandmom and now has to live with it until he apologizes. The penguins suck him into the ship and rush their way to planet Tell a Lie. Yeah, it's very apparent the themes take second place in favor of fun, swift animation. Not that swift.
A flood. A fire. A flood on fire.
The cable could go out.
Wow, Kevin out here predicting the future of media consumption. What a Simpsons level prediction. They approach Planet Tell a Lie, which has a very familiar sight.
Hold on. That's game.
Hey, Mitchell loves the game of darts.
What gives it? Ouch!
Alright, so the darts on this planet are sentient. I'd want to call this canon, but unfortunately in real life, darts cannot move and talk. And they're based on the British Royal Guards.
Too much fun.
A serious battle of wits and a serious act of treason committed. Oh, the lies and slander on this planet is a poor mistress. It's also nearing Armageddon through the falling moon.
Ah, yes.
Hopefully, if someone slips up, they can all reverse course. Because everyone's lying.
He's not the king. I am the king.
Zigil is such a dork. It seems like Kevin's the only sane person on the planet, respectively pointing out the moon out of orbit. By the time they're close to being squashed, the king officially confesses. The real king. Then the fake king, and everyone else. And we also know Zigil's sleeping habits. Yowie wowie. Jason apologizes for lying to their grandmom about the dartboard. Michelle does the same, and forgiveness fills the air. The Penguins' next song at the lounge takes place in Gamma Gulch. We get a bit of complaining circus man and his Goonies. She's a western in the making, and a smash hit with the lounge. Ice Cream You Scream opens up with a pickle. Zigil's having trouble trying to find his floss. It's literally sticking right off of you, man. How do you not notice this? He interrogates Midgel about it, but Midgel strikes back and the floss is pulled from his mouth. Seriously, pay more attention, man. Zigil offers ice cream at the lounge. How fitting, I just had ice cream already. The Penguins commander has a new dangerous mission, and Jason and Michelle cannot leave. Because of a giant-ass chewed gum. We get another villain this time, making everyone at the lounge angry.
Get as angry as you want. I am Covetous, evil overlord, and the bane of your miserable, insignificant lives. It's time again.
We get our boneheaded captain in the shower trying to rhyme with his heart's content.
Madagascar!
Wait, did you just recognize that franchise? Alright then. The gang goes berserk from everything this fly has done to make them argue with each other. And Discount Audrey 2 makes her appearance from the Little Shop of Horrors. The villain is captured and all is well. At least it's ice cream time. The green-eyed monster opens up with how the hell is Michelle and Jason living up with the Penguins now? Whatever happened to their time spent with the grandmom? Is this sometime in the future after the summer is over and it's next summer in space camp? Make it make sense! Make it make sense! So, the navigation system is currently under the weather. Pun intended. Okay, so at least we know that Zigil is still an idiot.
Seems I've forgotten the exact address.
Glad to know he's still my favorite goofball. Pidgel and Midgel are having trouble trying to fold the damn map back together, and now they're tied together like a finger trap.
We'll just get to this later.
Michelle at the lounge getting an ice cream like a depressed drunkard is not something I wanted to see. So Envy is basically the green monster. Also going forward, due to network executive interference, all mentions of deities were cut from the episodes. It's just plain ass themes. Back on the ship, the Penguins commander calls in for another mission. A planetary dispute much less, while peanut butter balls are being thrown at the screen. I nearly had him in a rage for a second.
Strange. It seems to have a fence surrounding it.
What? Did you not notice that while you were laughing at the peanut butter balls? And they've pretty much given up on using landing gear. Oh my god. Now on the planet, Kevin gives some of the sheep a little bit of his leftover peanut butter. Zidjo clearly didn't strap his seatbelt on, which would explain the bucket in his head and the sock on his nose. Also, this is such a big drop in animation quality that it looks even worse than what Big Idea normally produces. Then again, even veggietales around this time was starting to look a little bit worse. Michelle goes to Fidgel and Midgel, who are currently feeding the poor Radar. She asks about switching her room with Jason through furniture pieces and literally anything else. I mean, you wouldn't need to move a whole lot considering you're not going through adolescence, so I guess it's fine. Morally speaking, I would say otherwise.
It would be fair for me.
Okay then.
Here on Planet Picket, the grass always seems greener on the other side of the fence. Order! Order in the house!
Are you fucking kidding me? This is a bad episode.
If no one will help me, I'll do it myself.
Approaches Fixbot to tell them to work. God damn, you're useless. Also, how did you manage to eat your notebook? You'd have paper in your stomach by now, Jason.
Someone's attacking your socks?
Thank you for pressing the self-destruct button. The ship will self-destruct in exactly 2 minutes and 45 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
The distress call is received by Zidgel, and Kevin is tasked to go down and help them out.
Oh, it's me?
Yes, the call interrupted all the attention in the room. Jason asked the council, which includes the whole room, if they would like to switch sides. They all agree.
Everyone, switch!
The blue space cat is causing havoc in the ship, eating everything and smashing it in sight. That ship will be completely demolished by the time Zidgel and Jason are done, and the point of switching sides was completely redundant. Oh, this is going to be a long trial and especially big pickle. Also, am I the only one to say that this reflects the modern political climate we live in? Am I losing my mind? Kevin manages to catch the rat bastard in time, especially after finishing his last peanut butter ball.
Can I keep him?
Man, he has Winston's taste buds, I tell you. Back in the courthouse, another monster is heard from nearby. Could it be that little one's parent? Likely so. These beings might be the green-eyed monsters spoken about earlier by Saul. Kevin, Fidgel, and Midgel all help out get the next one. And Kevin sneezes the bottle onto the monster with 100% accuracy.
Well, this is a fine kettle of fallopian fries.
The monster destroyed our beautiful grass. There's hardly any of it left.
Are you sure about that?
Everyone heads back to the ship, and Michelle realizes her envy got the better of her. She relays the information to all the sheep, and those monsters exploded out of existence. Hooray! And they had a tropical cake. Oh damn, now the crew's got the flu. Lazy Days begins with Zidgel playing crossword on the newspaper and is in a deep focus. Jason is fighting for a takeout with some of Michelle's money. Mitchell tells them this isn't a bad thing to have work and tells Zidgel that he should be doing captain work. All because they are both lazy.
I know a way you can get a free sea chimp. Really? See? A chimp.
Ugh. The main lesson of this episode seems to be about hard work being rewarded than if you're a lazy bum. This is actually what's implied through the ant analogy from Saul. Pidgeot asks Jason if he wants to be paid to clean up the closet, but unsurprisingly he pulls the old "why don't you ask me later" from Welcome to the Chum bucket.
Cucumber dip. Apple crisps.
Hair gel.
Hair gel is not food, Zidgel.
It might be windy.
Fair enough. And they seem to be back on some sort of landing approach. How much damage did it cause this time?
Wow, this is the perfect spot for a picnic.
On ice? Where is the wildlife? I want to see polar bears. Michelle finds out after trying to play with the frisbee that the planet is infested with a lot of junk. It seems like it's gotta be from that one guy who tried to steal the ice cream truck guy or whatnot. Zidgel looked into the face on uncertainty and said, "Nah, I don't feel like cleaning up a mess I didn't start. How about we just have a picnic instead?" And of course he goes into song about it. Based on the sound from the commander calling Fidgel, it sounded extremely urgent and hazardous. And it looks like the ants have arrived. Oh, Kevin figured out how to be a cowboy on them ants. After a shit ton of running, figuring out what to do, armies moving the ship, and the cycle repeating, Jason confesses. Another certified "you stay I go" moment. And Jason is now cleaning up the dishes. We start the next with Kevin and Jason munching on some salty snack. It's not Fruit Gushers and may as well be Pretzel Lake. They're also reading brand new comics. Cavness's ship reminds me a lot of the Mighty Tallest. Am I the only one thinking of their ship? Admiral Strap calls in to ask for another mission, especially when they let go of Cav's ship by mistake. Jason and Michelle ask to get all the breakfast foods on the ship, and Zigel unanimously approves. Now, how is the ship going to land today? Wheels? Bouncing? A boot? Land somewhere on one side, perhaps? Yep, I knew that. Land ho, I guess.
Interesting. There seems to be some disturbance in the force.
Does that mean the disturbance has the higher ground? Anyway, they go to see the Chancellor, where there is a current issue with the gravity. Unfortunately, it looks like this show is not safe from pulling a fat-shaming joke. It seems that the clocks are all over the place on this planet, so Vigil is on call to fix that problem after assessing the situation. And it looks like the Chancellor has a knockoff Genesis Atari Jaguar hybrid. That's funny. It looks like some of the early Flash games for this series actually made it into the episode. Rest in peace, Flash. You will be thoroughly missed. Goodness gracious, Jason, you eat a shit ton of boxes.
You get fat.
No, why would I get fat?
Bread makes you fat.
Bread makes you fat?
Saul tells him the proverb of eating honey. Have too much of it and you'll get sick, figuratively and literally. Destruction would also be imminent in both ways, and it looks like another vortex has come in to try and sweep the planet of all life. Jason eventually figures out the meaning behind that honey analogy. The snacks he and Kevin ate increased gravity by a fuck ton, and now everyone's had enough. The twins head home and have a nice cup of tea to de-stress from all the activity they had. The tea conversations continuing to give and let give. Michelle makes cupcakes for the crew, excluding Jason. Then speaks on being sent to her room to think about sharing with her brother. She's also upset at her loss against Jason in laser tag, which is why she didn't let her brother have a cupcake. They land on a desert planet, which has a gnome problem, and a recreation of a pilgrimage sequence. Cavitus help aided the flamingos, and now the gang has to stop his plan. Vigil helps find the coordinates to the pumps that he's helping control for the flamingos. Vigil gets kidnapped, the tension keeps building up in the war, and Mitchell saves the day with laser tag. And also, Jason plays fair so he can have a cupcake. The next morning, Jason calls his sister up for a prank. His grandmom scolds him for pulling a humiliating prank on Michelle.
No sense of humor. None. Zero. Zippo. Nada.
Because you threw a prank on someone that could have hurt them, more than just mentally. Practical Hoax sends our penguins and twins to another story on the old Cav. It seems his Goonies are seriously stupid, so he decides to teach them a lesson in villainy. With full surround sound courtesy of AOL. The Federation Academy. Wait, that's where they're headed next. Back on the Penguin ship, a peace treaty was signed between Planet Fetch and the Border Collie Federation. Had to really go back and dig through the dialogue to get that one. Wowie. Seems like Jason keeps pulling his comedic antics on Michelle, and now he's doing the same for Kevin. What did my main man get to deserve this? Zigel was underway with hairstyling, but didn't realize he had guacamole paste in his hands. And now it's caught on with Vigil. Oh, the horror. Bear!
Oh my!
I told you to get out of the way!
Amongst the cahooting is the commander calling in for a favor. The Academy campus has caught a form of pox that leads to their universal equivalent of shingles, maybe. The penguins would have to be substitutes for those in the faculty who are sick.
Kevin, you seem to have acquired the amazing ability to have things pass through you!
He did not deserve such a pain as this. Each of the penguins go to their designated roles for the day.
We have to make sure Cavitus doesn't have a Gleazel of his own.
Don't we already have the replacement for the shrinking re-shrinking ray? Is it a different one? I don't know. They eventually find his records from the class of 22. Cav traps Vigil and Jason through a rubberized glue prank, but they learn their lesson through it, and Michelle learns about the fate of Vigil's Academy classmate. Cavitus unveils himself to the class and is shrunk down by Vigil in time. Jason and Michelle get the word plaque with the very words mentioned by their grandmom inscribed on it. We open with Michelle watching a horror show, to which she gets a scare and hides behind the chair. Jason notices this, as well as a song to keep her sanity in check. The grandmom tells him it's bad to tell a secret like that to anyone, as it could be embarrassing to that person. Especially Michelle. The penguins arrive and bring them over to the comedy lounge.
Bonsai!
Oh man, I missed when he did the bonsai line perfectly from the first episode. Unfortunately, Jason cannot hold the secret at all, embarrassing Michelle in front of everybody.
Jason, come on.
The room feels pretty sus right now, so I think they're gonna laugh. Oh, okay. I guess they took that well.
Sweet.
With the exception of Jason because he's such an airhead.
Yeah, that's really embarrassing.
Alright, I had enough of this lolcow. Coach!
Fucking embarrassing!
And this is why Kevin is the best team player on the ship. And Jason's now having enough. Thank goodness.
Fishy marshmallows? Hideous! How could you eat those?
I'm a penguin.
Exactly. The robot on stage short circuits, and now Jason has to prove himself if he's a good comedian like he says he is. So I'm gonna get Gaffigan or another comedy performance because he's pretty cringe. He asks about trying again, and Zigil backs him up on it. Saul lets him try again, but only if the mechanic for his robot is nowhere to be found.
How many light bulbs does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know. How many?
That wasn't a joke.
Oh, they actually did mean it. Michelle and the gang try to help Jason write some jokes.
Light bulb jokes.
I've always been partial to the knock-knock joke.
Beans.
Beans? Man, this was ahead of its time.
This motherfucker
they have physics!
Jason believes he's ready to try again, much to the aid and support of his penguin family. After another incredibly awkward start, he finally starts the jokes. It's dad jokes galore! And he's completely lost the plot. Poor Kevin.
Ask him about his invisible friend, Mr. Waddlebottom.
Now that's crossing the line, mister.
And the cold shoulder officially hits the crew. Jason continues his insanity path to the comedy hole. An embarrassing secret comes out, and he fumbles his next performance intentionally. Also, the microphone is upside down, probably to keep his high voice down. The crew forgave him for how naive he became during the comedy act. Back at home, their grandma is listening to smooth jazz. Well, that's a new embarrassing secret. The next morning, Grandmom receives a letter from the post office. Michelle hopes she eventually gets a postcard from her best friend. Jason's going full zoomies to express his excitement at the worst time over the baking soda volcano experiment that was in his grandfather's book. He learns from Grandmom to understand the mood of another person, to not get them more upset than they are. Showing the right amount of compassion at the right moment can make the difference. Back on the Penguin ship, the entire place is dark, but Jason does find Michelle in the midst of the darkness.
Happy birthday!
Merry Christmas.
Oh, she really is in a bad mood. I don't think a behavior-changing machine will cure the situation.
Captain, you first.
I'm not sitting in that dusty old thing. Thanks, I needed that.
Pidgeot's fallen and can't get up.
That was funny, Doc. In the 80s.
Oh geez, now everyone's infected with this Dota head disease. And it looks like they're doomed. They've landed on a giant-ass asteroid. Still intact, I guess. Pidgeot tries to get the outside patched up after a hole breaks open. Then everyone gets kidnapped by a group of ears, dropped into a cave, and then to see the Overlord. Take a wild guess who managed to rule them all. That's right, it's Michelle. The situation is that, much like Jason, she misses her friends dearly. And Kevin confesses to breaking the machine. The next episode tackles enthusiasm, making sure to listen and do it right the first time. Michelle and Jason start listening to Grandmom about not rushing chores. Just as he was about to pull a do it later, the penguins bring Jason and Michelle onto the ship. Oh, sorry, just Mitchell. Wiki Tiki starts in the comment lounge with the planned Aurora Borealis punch in the works. Guessing they're probably early for some punch. Saul's rules says that whoever can say a tongue twister first will have punch first. I can promise you this is harder than it seems, especially since I have a hard time doing tongue twisters as well.
Sorry, man. You don't stand a chance against my silver tongue. Glib is my middle name.
Wanna bet? Sally, sallied, saliently, sailing silently.
Congratulations, Kevin. You get punch first.
Get owned, Captain. I'm the king of the AB punches.
And the commander comes in to spill the beans on the next mission. Based on the theming of the island, it's a volcanic eruption and they have to save the village from destruction. The penguins have to make sure they do the mission right, and not just fast. By the way, Kevin has to have dibs on punch the next time they come back. It's only fair. They make it over to the planet and are jump scared by the Tiki Man. And the eruption has already begun. If only the commander told the penguins days before the Aurora Borealis punch. That is an unrealistic lava flow, man. Where's the pyroclastic clouds? Guess it was cut from the series because it'd be too scary for the tykes. Zigil's really overreacting to how in perfect formation the line is. Also, they have the movement of sloths, mind you.
We're running out of space!
Oh, hold on, there's some space back there. Maybe bring some of them into your rooms. The ship gets too heavy and Mijil has to bring everyone back on the island. Because the weight of the ship was too strong, Zigil decides to try and plug the volcano. And it turns out it was all for nothing. It ended up being a giant popcorn kernel. The king tries to give a solution to the problem, but unfortunately Zigil pulls the call and continues to assume shit. He tries to pull off 3 stone slabs, but they absolutely do nothing as well. Don't stand too close to the lava, you're gonna burn. He apologizes to the king, and the king suggests more slabs to push the lava westward. This works and saves the entire village. Cowabunga! And they manage to get back in time for some punch. Jason finally manages to make his bed after getting the hint from Michelle, and naturally falls asleep. The next morning, Jason is practicing his hockey skills while Michelle is looking at a beauty magazine. She wants to get the lip gloss seen on the front cover, but unfortunately Jason thinks this is a bad idea. The grandmom states that beauty makes up more than just looks, but in characteristics as well. Charm is deceptive and beauty is vain.
Hold on to your guts.
Jason's really gonna grow up to be a zombie fan. Back in the penguin ship, the captain is discussing the recent peace treaty between the Belly Batonians and Lint people. What a stomach full of vocabulary. And he really wants to go to a beauty convention made for products that he uses. Naturally, Michelle has an interest. He's got such a hard-on for me, so guapo.
And you, Kevin?
Oh no, do not drag him into this.
Never mind.
Great album, by the way. In a room, Michelle is talking to her doll, being very compassionate to it. One of the eyes pops off, and Jason walks over to poke fun at Miss Pretty Pretty. Not to encourage his behavior, but I mean, you've had her for a long time, Michelle. Maybe your parents can get a new one. Midgel walks over to tell Jason to ready the ship and also checks up on her. Unfortunately, he can't answer Michelle's question on her beauty, considering the beauty he's used to is machinery. Even Fidgel doesn't get the memo. Maybe she needs to think about what her grandmom said.
I make 'em swoon, even for a cartoon, just like George Clooney. I make the gals loon.
Well, that's very meta. Not that one, especially Zuckerberg. Fidgel is testing out new tweaks for the Gleezel for shrinking and transporting things around. Zigel has the absolute worst timing and switches brains with Kevin.
I think this is what they call cruel irony.
Like my dependence on you.
Well, there's a chance that Kevin may have to give this speech for Zigel's beauty company that he's a spokesperson of. Kevin just makes another entrance to ruin the event. Especially the new avocado body bath, so he could be the most beautiful person in the universe. Kevin goes up on stage to start the speech, ever the more nervous of messing up. Michelle goes to a supporting vendor to try stuff out, and unfortunately, the vendor calls her doll ugly. Kevin fumbles the speech up a little bit, but manages to save it with some tricks up his sleeve. Cav magnetizes all the avocado cream to him, and I guess it falls into the ship, I don't know. Michelle learns about just being herself in that very moment with the man behind the beauty products. She speaks the truth among everyone about true beauty. Zigel blows some mindfuckery on Cav. Jason apologizes, and all is well in the universe again. The little Cav is very disappointed with the cream and is greeted to a bath by his minions. Back in the house, Michelle is watching a soap opera, and somehow the TV is magically repaired from the first episode. Or maybe using that game console will fry it again. Probably.
Now I don't know if Harold and Princess Kate are gonna get married.
Guessing they don't have a TiVo. And Jason is playing around with the remote too much. It's fitting that this episode is called Get Along, Little Doggies, because right now it's the exact opposite of what they're supposed to be doing. The lesson here is that just because someone says something nasty doesn't mean you should be nasty in return. And the very interesting foods of the grandmom strike back from the first episode. It looks like both of them got to run because the Federation really needs their help again. All dressed with Western attire, I might add. Hello, space cowboys! Sorry, Spike, this is different. The penguins and the twins go to the planet Rudin Tootin, and there is a cow problem somewhere there. It's due to some wrestlers messing with the cows. And Zigel tries to pull a John Wayne, but fails miserably.
I'll be right here.
But it's okay, because Fidgel made a universal translator to help out with the dialect on the planet. That is one long ladder Kevin's bringing out. Very nice lasso you got there, Michelle. That ought to shut up Jason every now and then. And the ship has the smoothest landing of the series. Hooray!
Boy, that cow can really move. Get it? Move.
And why don't you keep moving along? I think everyone in the audience would get what this Western guy is saying, especially without the need of a translator. Kevin gets the first cow, but they still have a long ways to go to get to the town with no name. After the humiliation he receives while landing on the planet, Zigel just wants to be left alone from Wild Billy's, who's trying to get all the cow back into the town. He ticks up WB, and then a powerful quake occurs by the Space Gophers.
I think I liked them better when they were fighting.
Nah, Mizzle, you gotta chill. They begin to lasso each of the cows from the holes, and the gophers just keep following them. Kevin goes down and comes back to relay information on what their ringleader said. They want a showdown on high noon. While Billy speaks calmly to the leader, and then the adoption day goes on as planned. I'm not kidding, this is how anticlimactic the episode is. Michelle is drawing a birthday card and can't decide on what to draw while Jason's reading a book. And he's not playing fair with his sister. Grandmom warns Michelle not to draw on the table directly as it has dents inside. And she learns the hard way.
Listen to advice and accept instruction, and in the end you will be wise.
That's the proverb of the day, I hope. And it sounds like they're having another liver dish. Oh, the horror. A few pickups later, the penguins and twins return to the lounge in Wise Guys. On the way, Jason finds a time machine that was originally Vigil's at one point. Sheesh, Kevin, slow down on the snacks.
Attaching a cog to the spokes. You know, they make that flap, flap, flap sound when you ride.
I think Vigil's watched one too much of Back to the Future for today.
I got it covered. I need a wrench, not advice.
Veggietales. It seems that Jason is nearly complete with building the time machine. And he attempts to do a test drive, but didn't read the manual. So now he needs to get batteries for this thing. That vacuum's still floating from Way to Turn? And so he runs to get batteries from Saul, but wouldn't you need to go to the battery store for that? They might not have one around here. He suggests to Jason to stay around for a while, get to know some people, especially a Federation vet. And now it seems pointless because the commander calls in for another light bulb mission. He stresses them enough to not use the wrong one for the job, even though Jason's stressing himself getting the batteries. It's like Mitchell states on later in the ship, time machines are tricky. Just ask Doc, he'll tell you. Jason tries again with the batteries carefully placed in, and it works. By 1 second ahead. But once again, he needs to learn that time shouldn't be messed around with. As of course we've seen in entertainment, it can ruin timelines. Hell, it'll ruin games that could have been great. But he also tries adding boosters. The penguins get a distress call from an elder in the future warning about Jason messing with the machine. If he continues to do so, it will spell doom and gloom for him.
Well, I'm out. Lunch, anybody?
Yeah, no thanks. He tries the machine again, and all the ship's power is depleted within a matter of seconds. Nice one, Kevin. Huh, that went well. Oh shit, that's actual doom and gloom. Okay, that was the worst ship landing ever.
Not bad, Mitchell. Not bad at all.
He had no control of all that debris falling out. And everyone now dislikes Jason for what he did. Because he didn't listen. It seems like the planet they landed on was actually where an older Mitchell and Vigil live. Yet the captain doesn't even realize it's them in the future.
This may take a while.
I think it might take 7 decades to do this. The gang talks to their elder selves, and this still takes Vigil an incredible amount of time to process. And it looks like Vigil hasn't changed all that much in the future. Except his teeth and hair fall out. Yowie wowie.
Whoa!
Well, he finally got that memo. But Jason still hasn't gotten the fact he messed up the space-time continuum. And the ship. And he's stuck there forever until he owns up to his mistakes and listens for once in his life.
Captain?
I'm fat. And bald.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
This is serious.
And it looks like he's already entered his castaway phase. Elder Vigil's pointing out the obvious that they need to hold their breath in for a long time in order to fly the ship in that bad of a condition. But now they've got a crisis on their hands beside the ship. Kevin's getting younger and younger, and Vigil should listen to his elder self. Oh, come on, Kevy. Jason needs those batteries in order to go backward. Young Vigil tries to call the planet where the urgent mission came from. Turns out they were right to listen to their elders, so it'd be in the penguins' best interest to do the same. Even Jason and Michelle realized this, and so all their problems were fixed with help. And Kevin's back to his normal self. Let's go. The penguins now receive the same distress signal from before, but now in clear definition. Both twins rush home to get that light bulb out before it explodes, but their grandmom changed it in time, however. The next day, Jason is asked by his grandmom to get together and enjoy the outdoors. The lesson this time is that just because a person is being asked by a loved one to toughen up, is more out of love and care than to have everything in the world at your hands. In other words, tough love versus soft danger.
He doesn't bug me when I eat candy or play video games or say hurtful things that make me feel bad.
Except it sounds exactly like what he'd do. The troubles between Michelle and Jason can wait for another time because it's time for Mission 5632. What is it? Who knows? It's just another excuse to kickstart another episode. Yippee! And Vigil thinks alike with his grandmom. They're going to get space defreeze, then help another planet out. But Jason isn't allowed to get one because of the mess he made last time on the ship. And both his shoes are untied. In the lounge, Jason's sipping on some sort of freeze anyway. He begins to vent about his frustration with the gang and the whole looking after oneself motif. Saul explains that sometimes friends say things that hurt feelings, but sometimes enemies say nice things to get their way in the form of flattery. He still feels upset and leaves Saul's bar stool to attempt a breakout. The Penguins leave to head for the mission, and Michelle goes to apologize in case she or the others upset him. She then discovers Jason never went aboard. Majel and Zigel are in range of this thing they were assigned to by the commander. However, she spills the news to them about her brother. Meanwhile, in the ice cream truck, the driver hears Jason and meets him up front, condemning his runaway. Thankfully, he doesn't pull any stunt of flattery and is ready to bring Jason back to the Penguins. But unfortunately, they're caught by the beam from Cavus' ship.
What are you gonna do to us?
Nothing. Nothing at all. Jason is a friend of mine.
Said absolutely no one in the room. While Captain Zigel is discussing plans with Vigil about the Admiral of the Pig Bank needing an audience, Michelle really stresses that he couldn't find Jason. She's told to keep looking and bring him aboard too. The Admiral comes aboard looking like discount store Captain Crunch. Where's the Crunch Berry's royal assistant? How about some peanut butter crunch balls? I apologize to every fan of that cereal and the Admiral especially. I knew someone was gonna say a tall person joke. The situation seems to be focused around this giant ass hammer, and the Penguins have to do all they can to prevent this from breaking the bank. And it's already 50 feet away or some shit. I don't know. Space sometimes doesn't even make sense, even in media. Wait a minute, Jason's eating grapes? Whatever happened to Saul saying eat some fruits, preferably apples in that bar? Grapes are a fruit. Maybe this is from earlier when Jason freaked out at the idea of grapes with seeds. Jason doesn't realize this, but the Lizard King tells them that they're going to turn into honey glazed ham. Yes, I finally remember the name of that character. He gets taken away, and Cavus keeps canceling himself even further.
Ha! You big apes! That'll learn you to match wits with the Lizard King of Bulamanka!
What a great guy he spruced out to be. Back at the piggy bank, the gang are giving it their best shot, preventing this hammer from destroying it.
If that whammer is automated, then who's controlling it?
They figure out where he's located based on the spacey freeze truck. Jason sees Cav attempting to break the bank and is lured in to try. Hearing the Bulamanka guy teaching him the lessons from earlier is music to my ears.
Cavitus!
Where do you think? Him and Jason make it back over to the Penguin ship. Jason apologizes for his behavior and lets Lizard King have the Medal of Honor. And honestly, he deserves it for real life. Vigil starts messing around with the hammer and chases Cav and his goons away from the bank. Back at home, Jason helps fix a step and accidentally hits his thumb, but his grandmom saves the day with an ice pack, so that's pretty nice. The next day, Jason practices his hockey skills once again and isn't careful. Michelle calls him out for getting close to breaking anything in the home, but there's also a dent in the porcelain ship and the two fight again. Just fighting and interrupting isn't going to get the situation straightened out. Michelle, what are you doing? And there's dust everywhere. And it looks like we're back to the one twin at home, the other twin on the ship plot device. Wowie zowie. 12 Angry Hens starts with Kevin playing a game and the ship's flashing on the beacons. Probably because of Kevin's shenanigans damn near breaking the ship. A floating Easter basket makes its way toward the ship, but it's completely empty.
And some flapjacks. Too early for flapjacks?
They grab the basket with the extendo arm and Kevin's fidgeting it around. And Zigel is such a pussy. Oh, it's a robot hen. I'm not saying that show's name. The hen, soon after the stress call, has a baby coming out. And another one. Ooh. And another one. And another one. And another one. Ooh. And another one. And another one. There's like 9 million fucking robo-hens. Kevin decides to give one of the eggs to Michelle. It's Easter somewhere in this universe. Vigil's trying his best to decode the language. Kevin plays with his whistle ring that he got as a free prize in his cereal. That still may be an issue after that episode earlier. He sees that Kevin's prize may be useful for the translation of the words from the hen. Zigel asks if Kevin wants to use a giant yo-yo with an extendo arm. Probably as a distraction of sorts, I don't know. But whatever the case, it turns out that the ring was very useful in helping to decipher the language. They also need milk and a lot of love given to them, I hope. Are you sure about that, Wonka? Okay, I was wrong about all the chickens. Yes, I'm changing it to the proper term now. Zigel's being such a baboon in front of the block and tries to damage control his reputation. Kevin makes the effort to stop them from egging the Penguin ship, and they all run back in. Man, they really have it out for Sigil. It turned out that the royal egg was stolen, but of course, Sigil just refuses to listen. The alleged purpose brought in, but refuses to believe his sentence, unsurprisingly. But Sigil stops the commotion in time to make sure that a trial can happen. That way, it can't just be bickering back and forth, especially since the time the penguins were on that sheep planet. The captain refuses to listen to any side of the argument and says they're guilty. Oh, never mind, he's just an airhead. Michelle asks Henny Penny about the night of the golden egg being stolen, where they point out the fox blinding them as if they were being kidnapped, then steal the egg, and the trial's over. The series is done. I'm free. Oh, sorry, my bad. I know I rushed things, but it's a long series. Me and Sigil really gotta listen before we start jumping to conclusions and shit. The fox tells his side of the story and states that a shadowy figure already took it before even thinking of doing so. And Sigil, once again, proves himself to be such a jerk in front of everyone. He's such an example of people who refuse to listen to the whole story. Michelle decides to cross-examine Penny in the hopes of finding the issue at hand. And just as she and the penguins lightly expected, it was one of Cav's minions. And that's the fourth dad. No field goal punt for him. On another planet, the other minions trying to hatch the egg with Cavitus.
Flat tire?
Engine malfunction?
Fork in the road.
Oh, literally a fork in the road. The penguins stop in front of a scarecrow and ask for directions to where he's stationed.
Bonsai!
The prince hatches and believes Cav is the mama. And he immediately regrets hatching the egg. The crew catch up to him and he runs away. But the prince is A-okay because that would have been really bad if he were hypnotized. Back at home, Michelle apologizes for not listening to Jason the first time. And it turns out their grandmom accidentally made the dent in the ship. That's a relief it wasn't the twins. Kennel Club Blues starts with Jason and Michelle catching animals. They get an idea of starting a little zoo straight from the Spy Kids book, and a Jaws reference to go. Grandmom suggests to put them into a terrarium, but Michelle isn't as keen on the idea as Jason. And it seems like one of the penguins is spying on the situation. And from out of nowhere, she's on the ship. Turns out Kevin was the one looking at what Jason and Michelle were up to, but now he's squished inside the jar. And possibly killed all the flies in the process. Damn. The mission is to retrieve a lost caterpillar with the name of 79. Well, 1979? That was a year alright, especially as far as films go. The penguins have been posting signs of the pet all around, and now the commander's calling in during the situation.
Put it on screen with HD million.2 stereo multi-surround sound and 3D high-definition supervision.
I mean, we're still a couple years away from that happening, but it is here in the future, Sigil. It turns out the pet ran towards the catnip nebula. Well, I guess it's time to go get him.
Bird's eye!
It's not the same.
They find a whole pack of caterpillars, making it harder to spot the one who ran away from their owner. But Michelle has an idea to call 79 over, and it works.
I said I was good with animals.
She gives the name of the cat that glowing salmon-run creature. And once again, Cavitus is planning to make a heist for the cat. Based on the conversation in his ship, the minions bought a gold locket to turn anyone around them into hamsters.
No! Stop that! The evil laughter I do by myself.
Wow, I can't believe this was before Sungwon's version. Oh damn, Goldie doesn't want to leave home? But she's so cute!
Me too.
Me 3.
Me 4.
Me 17%.
Zidge, you can't come up with a percentage to try and be ahead. They make it to Planet Kennel and are jump scared by the Emperor. Turns out he has a whole collection of animals, not just the lonesome caterpillars. Oh, the poor cats. No wonder why 79 ran away. It's because he wasn't being the good owner he claims to be. And Cav's getting real impatient, so he and his minions decide to start the gas early. Except the penguins left before he could do so.
Penguins!
The penguins have their shakes in the lounge and make a toast to saving Goldie and returning her. But much like when Michelle cheated against Jason and lost to Lizard King, she was not happy with the outcome. Despite this, the commander asks for another mission onto Planet Barbecue. Michelle decides to leave and head back for that planet. It seems like the Emperor activated the gas made by Cavitus and is turned into a hamster, as well as Michelle. The Emperor confesses for the horrible treatment he had on the cats there. He then suggests flipping the switch and releasing all the caterpillars, but Cavitus comes in time to stop her from doing so. She manages to fight him off and release all the pets. The penguins arrive and fall into the hamster trap. But it seems like the sun reverses any changes made and reverts anyone back to their original form.
Gotcha!
You go, Kevin.
Well, that didn't go the way I'd hoped.
And it seems like Goldie is evolving into a butterfly. She's free now. Back at home, Michelle finds out what Jason did catching fireflies. They both decide to release them back into the wild and head for bed. Oh, it seems like Jason is giving the bootleg N64 another try. Let's see if that TV gets fried again. Michelle, be careful where you're running. You could have ruined the TV set that time.
I'm sorry, it was an accident.
But Jason's controller is shot due to the accident. Also, couldn't the controller just be plugged back in? Surely, unless the wires were exposed from the wrapping, it'd still work. He really needs to be more forgiving, as his grandmom stated. But I guess it's time for the big one. The biggest mission the Penguins have on their docket, whether given by the commander or not. Oh Mercy actually takes them on a routine mission, and Kevin is hogging Zigel's marbles.
You mean your marbles?
They're called spheroid crystals.
Spherical!
The captain's waiting so desperately for the call from the admiral. Not commander anymore. But it actually is the big mission. The Penguins are delivering the crown jewel, which is expensive and very delicate. Looks like they got the rubber ducky tube all set. Jason wins the rock, paper, scissors game to see who goes with Zigel to bring the jewel over. And just as things went smoothly, the chest holding it decides to be sticky and let go. Man, he's really gonna pay for something that was completely by accident. And he's really moping about it. Back on the ship, Vigil tries to call the Admiral about the developing situation. But meanwhile, the Penguins are being spied on by Cavendish. Because of course he needs to stroke his cocky ego. Jason explains to the king the situation with his sister that happened by mistake, and he asks if Michelle will be forgiven after her apology. Zig begs for mercy from Jason to do the right thing. He accepts his responsibility, the king lets Zig go after one prank, and we head back to the situation with Cav. Turns out he really wants the emerald, but doesn't know that it's destroyed and tries to pie them with burnt marshmallows, but misses thanks to Kevin. And the Penguins lose control of the ship, but regain control. It's weird. Vigil tells Zigel the news, and the guard is very suspicious of him. The marbles were thrown out, and he's upset for the complete accident. The king hears the conversation and locks him up again. Back in the ship, the Penguins try to come up with a plan to prevent Cap from finding the emerald in its destroyed shape. In the cell, Zigel is shining the king's shoes and soon greeted by Cav, especially for wanting to get that emerald. The gang tries to break him out, but the king catches on with their shenanigans. Vigil tells them about Cavendish, and they get marshmallowed.
Me next!
I do enjoy s'mores, Kevin. And the Admiral catches up to Cav, but flees anyway. Back at the throne room, Jason puts his foot down about someone needing to learn the lesson. Mistakes are made, but being merciful to others will be better in the long run. Back at home, it turns out I was right about that controller. And so was Michelle, but hey, at least Jason apologized for the way he acted. And he even puts his sister's name for the high score of that game he played before the mission. How kind and thoughtful of him. Grandmom's reading through her favorite comics, and it looks like Michelle wants to see some of them. Turns out she can't because she didn't keep her promise to Jason. It's better not to make promises than to make one you can't follow through. Her brother's upset that she reads them first before him, especially if they're going to a house of religion. Michelle gets dragged into the ship even though she forgot to have breakfast. Promises opens up with the Penguins having porridge, and Kevin made it himself. The next mission takes place on a planet filled with purple fluor from Jimmy Neutron. And the city is some sort of Atlantis. They need to drain all that soda before the pressure completely cracks the dome. Bonsai! This soda looks like Patrick's giant piece of chewed gum from afar. Kevin and the Penguins drop down the planet and meet the person holding down the leak. Turns out the situation is much worse than it initially sounded. The person stated that the crew to help patch the spot is supposedly on the way at the moment, so the Penguins have to figure out something for now. And Zigel is playing charades to try to help. Michelle holds the spot, and Vigil goes back to the ship. Vigil asks if Vigil wants a watercress sandwich, even though he was supposed to get his tool chest. And he thinks the quick bite won't be too bad. Kevin tells Michelle that he's pretty hungry. She asks for something that isn't Kipper's, and it turns out there are now 2 holes. And Zigil's still continuing his act until Kevin speaks his name. They both look through the menu and land on falafel. Kevin wins the jinx, and the wall's really looking to give in. The mayor and Vigil get into an argument about where both girls went, the hole gets bigger, and the repairmen aren't coming. The first girl out supposed to cork the hole was busy cleaning herself and now her room after she encounters Michelle. Michelle catches up with Zigel and Kevin, but now the leaking soda is spreading into downtown. Somebody better call Phil's Lip because they really need some flex tape here. Back at the hole, the mayor's corked in, and everyone makes it back over, including the mayor's daughter, who was holding the cork when the Penguins first arrived. And the jinx is still on for Zigel. The hole gets worse, and another stress call is sent to Vigil on it. Michelle starts an argument with her daughter, and the Domino's player speaks his mind on the situation. And now the entire dome is really shaking, but Mitchell has a big solution that he hopes will make everything better. Especially since he's in contact with Saul at the lounge. The truck pulls up and sucks all the soda off the planet, the curse is lifted off from Sigil, Michelle polishes her grandmom's shoes, and she lets Jason have the comics at the end of chapel service. The next morning sees Jason attempting to give the goldfish Harold candy, but grandmom tells him Harold gets fish food, and now Jason's having kidney relish Reuben pie. Michelle runs downstairs for an emergency and can't find her doll Miss Pretty Pretty. Jason tries looking for his baseball glove at the same time with the binoculars, but he's refusing to help his sister. Their grandmom suggests working together and that two are better than one regarding hard work being rewarded. Kevin rushes over to get Jason and Michelle, and Captain Sigil was allegedly kidnapped. Do Unto Brothers starts with Kevin telling the twins that Sigil was taken by Cavitus through charades, and so have the rest of the gang apparently. He shows the transmission through Star Wars antics, and Jason suggests they head to the lounge for help from their pal Saul. Vroom vroom away, Kevin! Cav has his own guards now? Whatever happened to his minions? At the lounge, the twins and Saul discuss the plan to get over and save the rest of the penguins. Saul asks them why not work together on this, especially since he's got to run the lounge on bowling night. Also, if Cavitus is so interested in catching Sigil, why pick up the rest of the gang? Because they come back to help him? I mean, given the recurrent situations with him, it makes sense, especially after the whole gopher pet fiasco. Saul ends up coming with them, but will have to shut down the lounge. And this is why seatbelts need to be fastened. Where the hell's the giant green bean bags with so much room to be comfortable in? And yeah, please fly straight if you can, Kevin. They discover a jelly wormhole, and it seems like the penguins are down that hole. Saul really thinks it's a bad idea to go down the wormhole, considering that ships couldn't come back from that. But Michelle thinks they should, and they consider doing a group vote. And by them, I mean Jason. The penguins won't take it and ask for room service from Cav, and once again, he immediately regrets taking them in. Michelle is in a bad mood and tries to steer the ship. The Gleezel drops and the ship gets sucked into the wormhole, except Cavitus stops them at the end. Ah, there's one of Cavitus' minions. They are probably out shouting because the water service was going to be going down the next day. That's what a catch, Cav thought out loud. The penguins manage to escape but then get caught back in by the guards. Now they really gotta get out of there. The guards find the Gleezel and it looks like Kevin got the brain off of it. That was such perfect timing. Michelle tries again and escapes from the cell since the cell was made for penguins and not kids. Now Jason decides to go and help her out too. But they got caught again by the guards. Cal really likes to boss them for the situation. Michelle apologizes for focusing on the mission alone instead of working together with Jason. The guards decide to help out the penguins and she tries another crack at an idea. But the penguins immediately stop the plan thanks to the last time that nearly destroyed the ship. However, Jason believes that she can do it with help from everyone. The worms make a bridge for the penguins to latch onto the rock hopper. Jason gives Michelle's hand and tries to let the ship go, and the guards come out to try and stop Cavitus. Vigil brings the worm to planet size with the Gleezel and swallows his ship. Back at home, Michelle is back to finding her doll, and Jason found it on the bookshelf. It seems that dinner's ready, but they run out to go get Jason's baseball glove. Michelle is playing tea time, and Jason decides to intimidate their grandmom, stealing her brownie in the process. After how many times she's been pranked by her brother, Michelle decides enough is enough. But not before her grandmom explains that it's okay to be upset when she or someone is hurt by another's actions, but shouldn't hold on to the anger. The one that's upset should be kept an eye on what their enemy needs. If they're hungry or thirsty, give it to them. That way they feel bad about hurting that person. Michelle goes upstairs and tries to reason with Jason, but he's still making fun of her. The penguins suck them in for another adventure, and Sigil is spinning out of control. Turns out he's trying to beat the personal record of most chair spins, but completely forgot about the mission. And it's more on Cavitus for the Gleezel, despite the current situation between Michelle and Jason. She decides to make an escape, and Jason tries to hide in the escape pod bay, which is actually a probe bay as well. Cat decides to attack them during this, and Vigil pulls out the rubber dome to protect themselves from the glue attack. X-Fling's back at Cav's ship. Cav escapes in time, but is flung into an asteroid. The shield is down after pushing the ship, and the penguins discover his location. Michelle gets yeeted out in the pot and into the asteroid. Cavitus is inside, and she calls for help.
Michelle!
But she has the Gleezel as well, so it's just going to be pretty difficult. And it looks like Cav's metal suit makes him magnetized to the rock. Jason walks back to the big room, and Mitchell tells him about the developing situation with Michelle and Baron von Cavitus in the asteroid. There, I finally said his full name. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Jason doesn't believe the situation until the screen turns back on. Kevin tries to find supplies to help the situation with the rock hopper. Zigil tries to phone in the now abandoned ship, speaking with Cav's soon-to-be former minions. They decide to help each other get both of them out, while Michelle and Baron sit tight in the asteroid. She decides to play putting the hula hoops on top of Cav's head. Kevin moonwalks his way out into space to put glue on the shield to temporarily hold the ship together. Cavis is running out of energy and needs some rations. She says no, but Baron comes out of his suit and begs for it. They vent out their frustrations, and Cav tries to get the food to no luck. She then offers a hand of support for the food, only if he drops the whole evil villain facade. He refuses and gets absolutely nowhere, which is where they're about to be. Just kidding, Baron's upset because everyone treated him like shit and got nothing in return. She decides to help him out and he obliges. Some more deep questions about life are discussed. Cav's still bad, but more friendly. The Penguins drop his ship off and both return safely. Michelle apologizes for her anger issues and Jason apologizes for his prank. Cavitus brings back his charade, but decides he's had enough for today and fourth wall breaks the TV. Back at home, Michelle and Jason talk it through that it's okay to be upset at someone and not hold on to the anger. And it's time for cookies before dinner. We've officially made it to the final episode of the series. And how shall it end, might I add? With Jason and Michelle playing planes in the attic. Miss Pretty falls off the plane and it zooms down to their bedroom. And once again, they're fighting about something that was a complete accident. Michelle deserves some help. And it's good to do so, Jason, especially when they're in need. He tries to give an attempt, but doesn't budge. The Penguins arrive, give another fourth wall break, and bring them on their last mission. And the big house starts with the Gleasel broken because of both twins coming at the same time. A strike signal is called, and a cowgirl says there's a desperate need involving a moon.
Diabolical.
Sneaky.
Chocolate.
I definitely want some chocolate too, Kevin. Apparently the cows made a stampede to the asteroid that looks like the one they rescued Michelle from. Well, I guess it's time to see what can be done. That seems like a bit much.
Welcome aboard.
So the field module went down and Fidgel has an idea of making a new one for the cowgirl. And it involves a cookie of sorts that the twin grandmom makes.
You really run on cookies?
I don't know if it's possible for Jason and Michelle to phone their grandmom about this.
Without it, we can't move!
It's come full circle!
Sorry.
To no one's surprise, Cavis has stolen the cookie. And now the twins decide to take the very idea I just mentioned and put it to the test. Not phoning in, of course. The cowgirl overhears the matter of the Gleasel, and it seems like she has another brain. Fidgel finally has a plan to make this work, with movie theater popcorn and lights dimmed, of course.
This picture's got everything. Laughter, pathos, adventure, 2 thumbs up.
Guess it's safe to say that Zigil's turning to the nostalgia critic.
Hey, that's my line.
You're right, but this is the last time they'll be on the ship, so let the twins have their fun already. They're getting cookies, damn it. They arrive back at the house, but the cows don't follow the metric system. Therefore, it's going to take much longer to fire the Gleasel. The stairs to the attic are also shut, so a plan to open them is in full swing. It seems they didn't have enough weight until Kevin pushed all the books into place. Their grandmom calls the twins to stop rearranging the furniture, and Zigil's now addicted to the sun. Kevin, Jason, and Michelle make their way to the kitchen, and it looks like another batch of cookies are done. Apparently, Cavitus made his way into the twins' world too, especially for the Gleasel, but also for another cookie. He swoops in and steals it from Zigil and Fidgel. Cav's ship is taken down, and Jason tries to knock down the tray of cookies. One of them falls in time, but the rest of them fall on the floor. Jason's fed up with the mission, and the plane is broken. But Michelle's plane is okay, so it looks like everything's under control.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
Cav and his minions fall onto the piano, and a honky-tonk melody plays. Jason doesn't even trust his sister with manning the plane, because of course he has to be sexist. And because of their grandmom sweeping up the mess, Jason panics and jumps aboard anyway. Meanwhile, Cav is holding down Zigil on the piano and is also burning under the sunlight thanks to Fidgel. Jason and Kevin fell off the plane and almost ruined their furniture and decorations. He reads a verse in the book there and learns his lesson. They come back up with the cookie, get Mitchell out of this pickle of a situation, and Cavitus performs an interception. Pretty wild I'm writing this video during their NFL draft. Cav gets scared that the Gleasel is caught, the twins give him a knockout, the cookie is shrunk and brought back to the cow ship. But one major issue hits them hard. One shot remains with the current battery, and it can either be done with Jason, Michelle, or the cookie. After some thought, Jason does the right thing, and the Gleasel is fully charged. The twins get back home, get ready for bed, and are greeted by Grandmom. They both enjoy their time in the cottage. And Kevin says goodbye to everyone watching. And that's the entire series. Nearly 6 hours of action and witty humor provided to us by the folks over at Big Idea. It was an interesting concept, putting sentient penguins into outer space and solving problems that could be fixed like in our everyday lives. It was great, but something always felt off. Most of the characters are pretty likable, but I am in no means one to compare them to the penguins of Madagascar. These are just your ordinary, everyday penguins solving pretty simple but complex missions, with the vibes of Star Trek and veggietales clashing into one another. If I had to say one thing to be removed from the show, it'd be the Christian themes. I can see it working out without them, especially since the series really starts to remove any mention of deities. Even the grandmom has to adapt a change and say the good book instead of the Bible or Torah or whatever religion that would fit with the story, especially to please the network executives at NBC. Trying to maintain a balance between religious and non-religious themes is difficult, but if VeggieTales can pull it off, then 321 Penguins should have done the same. It started out in home video, much like the former series, but never had the same love, care, and attention brought to it. It didn't help that the studio was used to making vegetable characters, and not so much on humanoid figures. Not to mention, they were hard at work on the Jonah movie and other projects, like the 2D spin-off for Larry's heroic side, Larry Boy. But that didn't stop the Penguins from getting some sort of resurgence. While it was a #1 seller the year after its video release, it truly became a hit for NBC's Cubo Block in the summer of 2008. Of course, when newer shows came and went, the interest died down on our favorite space penguins. It didn't help that the majority of cartoons on the Cubo Block were very similar to what you could find on PBS, but that doesn't mean it's completely forgotten. All the episodes are available on YouTube, provided not the best quality, and skips every now and then because whoever uploaded it had a bad physical copy. If I was to recommend this to anyone who isn't a Christian, they'd probably have a fun time. I still think anyone would have at least a laugh or two from one of these episodes, even if it was just the first episode on Planet Wait Your Turn. Sure, many of us will grow up and find new points of interest, but it's alright going back to an old friend from the early days of 2000s animation.